Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. We are returning to Socotra Island, home of the desert rose forest, to do a little bit of work on this landscape. Here is a look at the landscape as it exists today. So it's really greened up. All the desert rose have come into leaf. My Portulacaria afra plants that I planted to grow as shrubs are all doing quite well. They could use a little pruning. I'm also going to prune my desert rose for the first time. Some of these branches are getting a little long and the tree's getting a little out of shape. But overall, I'm very, very happy with this planting. I think it's really cool. I enjoy looking at it. I'm going to try and grow these jades to look like the dragon trees on Socotra Island, coming up with a big umbrella canopy on them. The leaves on these jades look like the dragon trees. I think it'll be a good miniature representation, and they're succulents, so they should exist in the same planting, this dry kind of desert planting. I'm going to start the work today by working on this jade. So I want to remove the lower leaves because I want that trunk line. And the old leaves are huge compared to the newer ones. And the newer ones are grown outdoors in this kind of dry landscape, so they're naturally quite a bit smaller. Come on. Is that not cutting through there? Why is it not cutting through? There. Probably because I have the wrong glasses on. Changing glasses. There, I got the close-up glasses on now. I can see much better. There. So I've got it down to a trunk. Now, I don't really want it dividing yet. I think this is too early. So, or do I? You know what? I should look at pictures of dragon trees first to see if they have a single trunk coming up or if they divide into two and then kind of fan out to create the umbrella canopy. I have a feeling they're more of a single trunk until it gets up into the canopy area. I better check though. I'll do that right now. It looks like there's plenty of dragon trees that divide fairly early into two or more branches that form the canopy. I would say most of them have a single trunk coming up and then the crown on top, but there's lots of examples of ones like this. So I will keep that double kind of branch structure. I'll show you those photos of the dragon trees now. I'm back to pruning up this tree. So on these branches, you can see I'm getting sub branches coming off at the base of some of these leaves here. So I think it's developing well. I thought about pruning the tips off the top, but I don't think I need to yet. I think I want to grow it, thicken it up more before I do any pruning. So let's move on to some of these Portulacaria afra plantings here. These I want to keep looking like bushes, so I want to keep them low and kind of spreading looking. So on this one, I will take the tip off this branch like that. And I'll take the tip off here like that. And this branch is growing too long here, so I'll take the tip off that. And down here, I can prune the tip off here. This will create more branching and It'll look more bush-like. So that's got this one pruned up, this tree's pruned up. Now here I've got these, it's another type of jade. It's commonly called the rat-tailed jade. Uh-oh. That sounds like a zombie apocalypse. All these little plants in this landscape are planted to look like bushes, so I don't want to grow this Portulacaria afra into a tree. I just want it to be like a rounded shrub. So this one is a fairly new cutting, and it hasn't grown yet, so I don't even know if it's rooted yet. I'll just leave it alone. If I come around here, I have another one of these jades. I'm just going to prune the lower leaves off of it to make it look a little more tree-like. So yesterday it was very smoky in the air. The smoke is blowing in from wildfires that are like, you know, way far away, but it goes up into the atmosphere and then, I don't know, comes down near our house, moving that moss there. I'll show you a shot of what it looked like yesterday. The wind today blew in smoke from the wildfires, so it's quite hazy in the air today, and if you sniff, you can smell like, it smells like burning wood. So, yeah, it looks like it's foggy out, but it's not. It's from the wildfire smoke. And there's advisories that you stay indoors today. And you can tell it makes your throat kind of sore. So I just thought I'd give you an update that the wildfire situation is not over yet. I've got this little Portulacaria afra plant pruned up to look like a bush, you know, and I don't want to grow it into a tree form. I want to keep it a small rounded bush. I was looking at the reference photos of Socotra Island, and there's lots of little kind of shrubs around, you know, on the landscape. Next, I've got another jade that I'm going to prune like a dragon tree. So, if we come up and look at the tree here, you can see, you know, this is getting a little tall, so I'm going to prune this one back to here. Kind of trying to create a rounded canopy. I think the rest is quite good. I could remove some of these lower leaves to keep the leaves up in the canopy, so there's no leaves down below. I think that'll help create that tree form. Now I think this branch has to go. It's kind of at a weird angle. So that one comes off. And there's something else in here that needs to come off. Another little branch. There, so I think that one's got quite a nice tree form to it now. Let's rotate around. Now here's some rat-tailed jades that are very vigorous. Let's look at it from the front view and decide if I want to make this look like, you know, a tree, or prune it back to a bush, or what I want to do with this plant. So I'm just looking at that jade from the front here. It's certainly getting up to the height of a tree rather than a bush. And I'm trying to decide, do I want that? I think I've got to look at my reference photos of Socotra Island again to see if there's anything that looks like this on the island. I was looking through the pictures of Socotra Island, and I found a plant that almost looks exactly like that rat-tailed jade back there. So I'm going to go with the height it is. I'll just prune it up to look a little more in between a tree and a bush. I'll show you the photo of that now. Let's go in now and prune up that rat-tailed jade. I'll rotate the forest around, getting that rat-tailed jade in view right here. So in the reference photo, it was tighter. It didn't have long shoots extending like this, but it definitely looked very similar to this. So I'll just pinch back all these long shoots to kind of create more of a even canopy on top of the plant. So again, I'll just use the scissors to come in and kind of try and prune between the leaves if I can. So these rat-tailed jades here were a little slow to get vigor. And I think it's because, you know, they have to grow roots in this soil. And I've kept it fairly dry. It hasn't been watered that frequently. And the reason is I don't want my jades, or not my jades, I don't want the desert roses to grow into giant desert rose. I have to keep them small, otherwise they're no good in this landscape. Pinching actually works really well on these jades. There's so many cool jades in the world. Like, they don't all look like the typical houseplant jades. There's so many varieties of jades that I think you could have a whole bonsai collection of just jades if you wanted to. I think this is a little too tall here. I'm going to prune this one back. Like that. Take this one back a bit. And maybe even take... I was going to take this one back further maybe, but I will leave it. I'm just cutting out a bit of dead part in it, if I can. There. Oh, okay. Yeah, that looks good. Beside that, oh, there's a few more tips I've got to pinch here. Just, they're getting long. Uh-oh. It's another zombie apocalypse. Wow, sounds serious. Beside it is another Portulacaria afra, and I want to prune it back. It's getting a little tall and tree-like looking. So prune that back like that. Keep going around. Here's another little planting here. And I will prune that one up too, just taking the tips off. Like that. Okay, I think that's got all my little shrubs pruned up. Okay, next I'm going to prune up the desert rose. I'm looking at the largest desert rose, and you can see this branch over here is getting kind of out of the shape of a rounded canopy. It's kind of starting to grow over top of this tree, so this needs pruning back. There's also, you know, a branch here that's getting long and it's kind of crossing back in on the tree. So I'll need to do some pruning on these branches to get them shorter. I'll cut them back, maybe even, you know, quite far to get them to subdivide and get them more compact. So the first thing I want to do is I want to clean my scissors with soap and water. You want to make sure these scissors are nice and clean. You don't want to create any infection on the desert rose. So here I go. I'll clean them with the soap and water. So here's my scissors, and I've got my soap and water. I'll just spray my scissors, kind of rub them a bit, get any sap on the blades off. Make sure they're clean, and then rinse it again with soap and water. Clean my hands at the same time, trying to make everything fairly clean. Okay, so I'm ready to do the cuts. Now, a lot of people seal the cuts with the either turmeric, cinnamon, or sulfur, powdered sulfur. All I have is turmeric at home, so I'll try that. Before I go trimming the desert rose, I want to give you a warning that the sap of the desert rose is extremely poisonous. You don't want to get it on your fingers and then rub your eye or anything. It may cause temporary blindness. So you have to be pretty careful about the sap on the desert rose. A lot of people use gloves when they're working on them so they don't get the poison in their skin. I'm doing this pruning work on the desert rose on a sunny day, and that helps. It helps dry out these cuts so they begin healing. So here I go. So here is the one branch that's getting too long, so I want to prune it back quite severe, and I can see the leaf scars. So at the base of each leaf is a dormant bud. So I want something that's fanning out. There's one at the back that would be ideal. So I'm going to go prune it just below this leaf scar, so that leaf scar out the back will become a new branch. So here I go, my first cut on the desert rose. Just like that. So you can see that liquid sap, that poisonous sap on the scissors and on the thing. It's starting to pool. So I have to be very careful not to touch that. And where will I put the cutting? I will put it right here. And I'll clean my scissors off once again. Cleaning between cuts. So that's my first cut. My second cut, I think this is too fat. You know, as you get towards the outside of a canopy on a tree, the branching should get finer and finer, and this is just too thick here, so I'm going to hard prune it back. And again, I'm going to look for leaf scars. So there's one out the back here and one up higher. I think the one up higher is probably too high, so I'm going to use the one right here as my new point, or my new branch. So I'm going to prune right here. So here I go. Big cut coming up, just like that. And I'll be keeping all these for cuttings, because you never know, maybe this tree is going to grow too large for this planting someday, and I'll have to replace it with a new tree, a smaller one that I've grown from a cutting. So I've cleaned my scissors once again. So let's take a look at that tree again. If you look up in the canopy here, there's a dead branch. So I'm going to prune that away. It's just one that died, and I have no idea why, but it's definitely healed over. It's just all kind of hollow. Okay. I also, if I look out front, I have another dead branch right here that I'm going to prune away. And I'm going to clean up this cut point. It's kind of got a bulge here, so I will come in like this and prune all that dead bit away and that awkward looking section. Okay, that's looking better. If you look right on the interior of this tree, you can see there's a branch kind of growing in a weird angle, so I'm going to remove that one. It's just totally bizarre. So here I go. Okay, so that comes out. And that can be another cutting, just that little bit. You never know what my root. So that cleans up that negative space in here quite nicely. On this branch here, you can see it's being cut here, and the branch is growing in towards the center of the tree rather than one on the outside fanning out. But I can see there's like branches here that are looking like they're becoming active. So I'm going to prune this one back and hopefully stimulate something to grow out towards the camera in this direction. So here I go. I'm going to prune the top off here, right like that. There's another cutting. So hopefully something will grow out in this direction. And I think that has got this the largest tree pruned up. Rotating around back to the front, the next tree that I want to prune up is this one. And you can see there's a central trunk that's growing up very tall, and I don't want the tree quite that tall, so I'm going to prune it off. So here I go. I'm just going to come in about here. and prune the top off. So here I go. Just like that. More desert rose cuttings. So that one's really oozing liquid out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these cuts dry a bit, and then I'll apply the turmeric powder to them. And I'm just seeing if there's any more trees that need pruning. The one at the back here, I mean, I could take the top off, but I don't think it's really a problem yet. I think it's all right. The one on the edge here, this one looks fine. It's got a few dead leaves on it there. I'm just picking out. Off of my aloe tree here, I have this flower stalk, and I've got 2 seeds forming up here. So I'm not going to prune this off until my seeds have kind of matured. Because, you know, as I said, you never know when you have to replace a tree in this forest with a smaller one if they grow too big. Because desert rose can grow extremely fast if you water them and feed them when they're in leaf. In the wintertime, I don't water them at all. They go right from fall all the way through to spring without any water. Now they are in the plant room, which is fairly humid, but I don't water them at all. Okay, so I'll let those cuts dry up a bit, and then I'll apply the turmeric powder to them. Here's my turmeric powder. So I thought about, there's 2 ways I could apply it. One is with tweezers, the other is with a small spoon. I'm going to try the small spoon first and see if it works. So I'll get a bit on my spoon here. So it's a very fine powder, and I will, I think I'll use the tweezers to kind of brush it out from the spoon onto the plant. Like that. Missed there. I'm kind of missing. Let's try this again. That's going better. There. Now I have a whole bunch on this leaf here I'll have to clean off. Now the next big cut was over here on the top of this tree. So I will get some powder on there. I have to do high altitude dive bombing here. Okay, I think that's got it. Like that. Now, is there anywhere else I cut? Over here I made a cut. So I'll get some turmeric powder on there. Like that. And there was a cut over here. I'll try and use my tweezers here. And I won't be putting this spoon back in the turmeric because just in case it has sap on it, I'll make sure I clean the spoon. Okay, so that cut's sealed. I think that's all I did. Yeah. So next I've got to get the turmeric cleaned off that leaf. Okay, let's see how well this cleaning of the leaf goes. I've got a brush, a little scoop to catch the turmeric. I have a feeling this is going to be a disaster. This powder is so fine. Okay. Guess that's okay. I caught most of it. I'm just going to use my sprayer and try and wash some of that turmeric off that leaf. There. And the stuff that's on the ground, I'll just kind of wash it into the soil. Maybe it'll provide some nice color variation. There's a bit I'll wash off here. Being careful not to wet the cut point. Just keeping everything dry, clean and dry. Okay, that is looking good. I'll just give a little bit of water to some of these Portulacaria afras and my bushes here, my rat-tailed jades. The owl. the desert rose. I don't want them to grow much. This one to help it root. Okay, here's a look at what I cut off today. So not a whole lot, just a bit of trimming. And over here I have my desert rose cuttings, just kind of poking through the mesh. I'll let these dry out a bit and then I'll plant them and see if I can grow them from cuttings. Let's finish today with a quick tour of my Socotra Island landscape. I really enjoy my Socotra Island desert rose forest landscape. I find it very fascinating to look at and see how all the plants grow. It's time now for today's update. My first update for today is this Golem Jade. I think this was from Ashley in the UK, the original plant, I think. The pot is from Stefan in Germany. It's a 3D printed pot, and it's holding up really well. So you can see that the jade is gone very foliage heavy on the top. It's grown really, really well. So today I'm going to be pruning it back, making it a little more compact. All right, so I'm looking at the tree. I've got a vertical shoot here. I'm trying to decide if I can use it or not. It's kind of growing parallel to this trunk line, which is a bit of a disadvantage. It doesn't really fan out from the tree. This branch does. I could bring this jade right back if I wanted, like almost to a stump. However, you know, I might as well keep all the branching I have. There's no point kind of throwing it all away and starting over unless I want a really short, you know, a short, fat, stumpy little tree, which I don't think I do. So I'm going to start by reducing these growing tips back to some of the first leaves. So I'll prune the top off to, it's hard to get in here, I'll prune it back to here. If I can get through these leaves. There. So there's one top off that branch. The next one I'll prune off at a similar point about here. And then I've got this branch out the back and I'll prune that back to here, taking the tip off. So that's kind of got this branch structure pruned up. I'll take away some of these older leaves. No point keeping those. like that. That keeps a few leaves on top. Yeah, I think that's pruned back quite well. Now, I think I'm going to have to take this one off. I just do. So off it comes. It's just too vertical. It would make a great little cutting. However, I have way too many jades. So the next trunk line comes up. I've got a nice branch here to subdivide. So I'm just going to take the tip off that. Like that. I think this is a better front for the tree here, because the trunk line's coming forward and this is more of a back branch. So I think I'll have to go with that kind of a styling. This branch is coming forward. I'm going to prune it off short to here. I'll remove these leaves on the inside like that, or leaf. This one's crossing. I'll take it right out, this branch. I'll prune this branch back shorter to here. Take the tip off. The one out the back, I'll prune back short too. Not real short, but shortening it. Now, here's the trunk line's coming up. It's getting kind of tall. I want to prune it back. This one comes out front, so I have to keep this, and this could be the new leader here. So I think I will take the trunk line off to here, like that. Take an old leaf off there, and this one also. There's a leaf on the inside here I can remove. Oh, wrong one there. This one should go too. And then this branch coming out the back is way too long, so I will prune it back, and I think I'll prune it back to here, keeping some foliage on top of it. And then this one needs pruning back also, and it will come back to here. Like that, kind of keeping, you know, an apex there. This one I could even prune back shorter. I think I will. It's just a little long. That looks good. I don't know about this branch coming out front. I think if I grow something out this direction, it'll be okay. Yeah, I think everything else is okay. From the other view, it still looks quite good too. But I think this should definitely be the front here. So I'll grow it so this side of the tree is facing the light now. It was kind of growing towards this direction. Now it'll grow more towards this direction. It'll improve the look of the tree. Okay, I think that's got update number 1 pruned up. Now this is very dry. I'm going to give it some water. If this were a cloudy, cool day, I wouldn't water it, but it's sunny and hot today, so it could definitely use that water by the end of today. Alright, so that's update number 1, all pruned up. I did a similar pruning to the Sheffield Jade, or the winter jade, a while back, and it's looking really good now. I'll show you the results of kind of hard pruning a jade, what it looks like after it begins growing once again. Here is a look at the winter jade, and you can see it's not very tall. So I'm going to give this one a watering also. It's very, very dry. And I want to make sure it's watered deeply to get all the roots moist. And then you let it dry out once again and keep repeating that process. My next update are also jades, and I believe these are from Ashley also. I'm going to give them a pruning today. They're growing really well, so I will just prune them back to make them a little more compact. So here I go. I will prune this one back to here, keeping them small and compact. Back to here, here, and back to here. Okay, so that's quite a pruning on this little jade forest. But again, it'll grow in, more branching, more compact. It'll look very, very nice. one more update today, and that's my willow leaf ficus. I hard pruned it all back in a recent video, and it has buds all over the branches, all over that are coming into leaf, so that's exciting. I did a lot of root pruning on it and a lot of top pruning, so it's nice to see it leafing out once again. I'm really enjoying the succulent bonsai, trying to miniaturize them to look like succulent trees in nature. It's a lot of fun, and it's fun coming up with techniques that work. That is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.